Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm going to go ahead and take you through some of the Snyk open source test capabilities that will allow you to identify vulnerability issues in your open source dependencies in the projects you're building and allow you to work through a process of triaging, prioritizing, and fixing those vulnerability issues. So today we're going to start with the test via the UI. I will show you a project that I've imported from GitHub, and we will take a look at the issues from the UI and how to filter those issues, work with those issues, and then prioritize and fix a particular issue via a PR in GitHub. We'll also talk about how to fix multiple vulnerability issues at once if you'd like to do that in a single PR. And then we'll take a look at the dependency tree that will help us identify all of the dependencies, not just the direct dependencies, but the dependencies of those dependencies, so all the indirect dependencies as well. Once we're finished covering the UI, we will then jump into the CLI and show you how to run a Snyk test via the CLI and the results that it provides. Finally, I'll take you through some next steps that you might want to investigate and learn more about once you have the basics of the Snyk open source test capabilities covered. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to go right to a demo today. So let me go first of all to my GitHub project. Here you can see I'm using this Node.js goof project. This is a simple Node project that has, of course, a manifest file defined package.json here that tells us which libraries we need to use to build this project. We're going to import that project into Snyk, and I've actually already done that for the purpose of today. We can see this Node.js goof project has been imported, and now we see 3 different projects created. One for the code analysis, one for container vulnerability issues, and one for our open source dependency issues that we are uncovering via the open source test. We have the summary here, so we know we found 3 critical issues, 54 high, 53 medium, and 9 low. We know that the test ran 4 minutes ago. And now we can go ahead and click on the package.json name to look at the details of the issues that are found. So there are 3 tabs that we're going to navigate through. The Issues tab that allows us to look at the details of each of the issues, filter by different attributes, and then go ahead and start to prioritize and fix or ignore issues that don't need fixing. We have the Fixes tab that gives us an overview of all of the different libraries that have vulnerabilities, which ones have full fixes, what versions require those fixes, and which ones have partial fixes or no known fixes yet. And then we'll look at the dependency list and tree to show you the full set of dependencies in our project and which vulnerabilities are contained in each. So let's start first by looking at the issue details. Here we can see that they are listed in priority score order, And we can see the priority score here is 899. That's very high. It scores 1 to 1,000. And it's high because it's a mature exploit with a fix available and a high CVSS score. Now I can look at all the details of this particular vulnerability if I'd like to see when it was introduced. We can see it's a transitive dependency, and we can see that there is a fix available. We can see additional security information about the scoring of this vulnerability issue and some additional details about the issue as well. So I can go ahead and I can scroll through the list of issues. In this case, we have quite a few. We have 119. So what I might want to do is just filter to only look at the critical issues as an example. We can filter by priority score as well. If we wanted to, let's say, only look at things from 500 to 1,000. And this will narrow down the list of vulnerabilities that we're starting to review and prioritize for fix or ignore. There are other attributes that you can filter by as well. As you're going through, if you see a vulnerability that you know doesn't apply to you, or you're just not, it's not something that you're going to fix. For example, this proof of concept maturity issue that is in our Babel Traverse package, we can go ahead and ignore that, and we can put in a reason. And we can either have it expire at some time that we choose, or we can say, no, we're just really not going to look at this one even in the future, so we will not have this expire. Once we've ignored the issue, it will drop off of our list by default, because by default, we're only looking at open status issues, but we can always go back and look at it if we want to see the ignored issues. And if we made a mistake, we can go ahead and unignore the issue as well. Now, once we've started to get a handle on what issues exist across our open source dependencies, now we can start to think about how we want to go and fix the vulnerability. So let's just say the ADM zip is the most important vulnerability that I really need to get a fix applied right away for. As a developer, I can just go in and click fix this vulnerability and create a PR in GitHub in order to apply the upgraded version of the package that will fix the vulnerability. Now, before I do that, I do want to show as well the Fixes tab, because I think that this is going to give a different view that allows us to see the big picture a bit better. So the Fixes tab allows us to see where there are fixes available in all the different packages that have vulnerabilities. So we can start to look at which vulnerabilities exist package by package now, and which versions of those libraries we need to upgrade to in order to apply a fix. And from here, we can open a fix PR and start to choose multiple libraries to upgrade all at once through a single PR if we'd like. Now, the reason I showed that first is that because if you click fix this vulnerability from the ADM zip as an example issue, this is the one we're keen on fixing as soon as possible. Now you do see that we have the ability to choose other issues as well to fix multiple issues at once. But for my purposes, I really just want to get a fix for this critical issue that has a high priority score. So I'm going to go ahead and open a fix PR. Notice we do list issues with no fix and also issues with a partial fix. This is a similar view to what you will get by default when you run the test command through the CLI that I'm going to show in a few moments. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead for now and open a fix PR. This is going to provide the details of the issue in the PR description. It's going to apply a patch through the Snyk bot that's going to commit changes for us to update the appropriate package to the newer version that has the fix. So here in our case, ADM zip was upgraded from 0.4.7 to 0.4.11. As we can see, we have the details of the vulnerability here as well. And now we would go through the standard code review process, validation process, and then go ahead and merge our changes to upgrade this fix on our main branch, upgrade the package and apply the fix on our main branch. Now going back to the UI for just a moment, we also have the dependencies tab here. And so with the dependencies, we have the ability to search for a specific library that's of interest to us. So I'm just going to pick one that I know has some transitive dependencies, or is a transitive dependency. So we can start to see not only a list view, but also then see how the entire dependency tree looks and where this library is being introduced. So here's our Babel Traverse as an example. We know that there are two critical issues with Babel Traverse that are found in our project. So this is a helpful view to get started. But what I really want to see now is our dependency tree. And through the dependency tree, I now have the ability to walk through the entire set of dependencies. So we know we pulled into our project tab 11.1.5, which depends on your NYC 1190, which depends on this Istanbul lib instrument, etc. Keep walking the tree until we find our Babel traverse. We can see how this library got included into our project overall, even if it's not a direct top-level dependency in our project. And the filtering capabilities here are great, so it allows you to very quickly find any library that you're looking for. Okay, that's all I wanted to show through the UI. Let's go ahead and take a look at the CLI and see how that works as well. So let me switch over to a terminal window. There are several different ways that you can install the CLI based on what operating system you're using for your computer. You do have to then also run an auth command, and I've provided links in the documentation in the slides that I'm going to link to this video. So go ahead and take a look at the documentation to understand how to install the CLI and get authenticated. For me, I already have the CLI installed. I just want to make sure it's installed. And I have cloned my Git repo. So I am at the root level of my Git repo. When you're using the CLI, it's going to look for a manifest file and use the first manifest file it finds to provide the report on the details. So just make sure you're in the appropriate directory for it to be able to find the correct manifest file that you want to analyze. In our case, if I just do an ls quickly, I can see that the package.json file is at the root. So let's go ahead and just run a Snyk test command. We don't need to provide any other options for the Snyk test command. It's going to go ahead and run the test and give us some summary information about the dependencies it's finding and the vulnerabilities in each. And then it is also going to tell us where we should be upgrading our different libraries and from which version to which version that has the appropriate fix. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of output here, but it is giving us a view that's very similar to that view that I showed you in the UI that allows you to see at the package level or at the library level which specific versions are your current versions that you're using, what issues are found in that package, and then which version you need to upgrade to in order to fix it. Now, there are some CLI options available in terms of the format of the outputs, especially as you start to incorporate these tests into things like CI/CD pipelines. You may want a specific format of JSON output as an example. So you can go ahead and take a look at the different options to get that different JSON output. But that's all I'm going to go through for today with the CLI. I just wanted to give you a starting point so you can get comfortable using open source, understanding what it's telling you in terms of where there are issues that need to be investigated and potentially fixed, and how to go through that process of triaging, ignoring, and fixing the vulnerabilities. Let me go back to our presentation for just a moment. We started today in the UI looking at how Snyk scans your manifest file and provides all of the details in a project that has the same name as the manifest file, in our case, package.json for our node project. We showed how Snyk creates a dependency tree of all the direct and transitive dependencies and shows all of the known vulnerabilities in each open source package that is being utilized in your project. We went through the 3 tabs of issues and filtering capabilities of issues, fixes, and then dependencies. We went through the fix of a vulnerability issue through a PR. And then we showed as well that you could select multiple issues to fix with a single PR if you'd like. Then we took you through the CLI. And now what I recommend for next steps are a couple of things. You probably use an IDE such as Visual Studio Code or Eclipse. There are capabilities to run the open source test from most of the common IDEs. You also have the ability to run open source tests as part of a CI/CD pipeline, as I mentioned a moment ago with the CLI. There's some good learning paths on both of those topics, and I've put the link to the specific learning materials in this presentation. Now, the open source test capabilities also have the ability to find and fix open source license issues, so open source licenses that you shouldn't be using, and remediating those through fixes, and also has the capability of generating a software bill of materials. We didn't cover those topics today, but those are a couple of topics I would recommend that you check out next. And then finally, we have the ability to check for new open source issues that are being introduced as part of code changes that we're making as part of our standard development process. That capability is called pull request checks, and it will show us here are the new vulnerability issues introduced based on the code changes we've made in this feature branch associated to this PR. And that's going to allow us to have a gating process if we want to ensure that we're not allowing any new vulnerability issues of certain severity, certain scores, whatever the case may be, to make it through to our main branch and into production. So I've added the doc link for that as well. Go ahead and check that out if that's something that's of interest to you. I also provided just the general documentation for our Snyk open source test, as well as the Snyk CLI. So you have those available to you. We do have Snyk Learn that provides, it has a wealth of information, a variety of different learning paths in it, not just on Snyk topics and how to use Snyk, but also on security topics and vulnerabilities and what types of vulnerabilities exist and why you should care. So please go take a look at that, and I'm sure you'll find some really useful information that helps you get even further along in your security adoption than you are today. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.